Okay, guys. So, according to Vic Mensa, who I think you know.
Yeah, he's my brother.
He's your brother, isn't it? So he was on tour, I think, with Earn Your Leisure people, and he was talking about black excellence being a scam.
You know, honestly, when I saw that you put up that tweet about black excellence is the scam that replaced black power, I thought it was just a pertinent perspective. I thought the timing was correct. The idea of black excellence, I think, is just rooted in this Western individualism that we've adopted that's ideologically contrary to our natural state as a collective communal people. Is an easy way to conflate individual success with progress for the masses, and those things don't equal each other, right? You know, it's like we got the most black millionaires, the most black billionaires. We're always being told about this $1 trillion spending power that we have. Our median black family wealth as households is declining and is projected to reach $0 by 2050. And already the average white household is at 86 times the amount of wealth as the average black household. And yet we got billionaires, you know. It's like negating the value of that individual growth that has been made. And that's not the case. The case is more so that we can't lose sight of the actual goal in the pursuit of personal gain. The actual goal is for us as a people to overcome the societal pressures that chain us. And one of us coming up, few of us coming up, doesn't change that.
What do you lot think about what Vic is saying and black excellence being a scam?
What do you even define as black excellence? Like what does it mean by black excellence? What does it stand for? Is it financially? Is it, securing family generational wealth? Is it related to knowledge? What is black excellence according to that definition?
I would say, like, when it's heralded, I feel like it's just capitalism. It is about wealth. It is it's a Jay-Z, it's a Beyonce. It's like, they, especially Jay-Z, like, they were poor at one stage and then they pulled their bootstraps up and now look at where they are. I feel like that's black excellence. It's Diddy before Diddy did it. But I think that's what the term means. I think it's that thing. I think it's about money. I agree with him. I'm leaning towards, I think I'm turning into an anti-capitalist. Now, I haven't thought about this too much, so I need to do more reading on it. But I don't think it works for us in society to really be chasing dollars or pounds or naira. I don't think that's where we need to go. So I think he's onto something.
What do you think?
Black excellence is now part of the idea within almost the sub-framework of the black bourgeoisie and the American dream. And then that has now become the narrative for the global black experience. So if you are visible, affluent, and excellent, so you excel particularly within European spaces, now all of a sudden you have become this almost elite class.
Yeah.
And that is the idea that because there's representation, there's a very small representation in white elite spaces, now you have this idea that everybody's okay and we're all doing fine. But the reality is that you have people who are in HBCUs in the USA, and then their same family members are gangbangers and in and out of the prison system. And if the medium value of the black dollar by 2050 is going to be zero, we have to ask ourselves, is representation without a collective shared power real power? Is it just soft power? Influence power? Because having representation and having influence without having hard power and being able to choose how your healthcare system is provided, or being able to choose what your curriculum is as part of your education, or being able to choose what you want to say in an interview without being cancelled by the elite mafioso, not going to say their names for various reasons, but is it real power. I think that the black bourgeoisie class has been a class that has been elected since the decolonial period, and then since the ending of slavery across the various colonies in the world, as a gatekeeper class that basically has a have and have nots protect the system kind of thing. And I think if you read A Wretched of the Earth by Frantz Fanon, it basically highlights how the black bourgeoisie class is not even a real bourgeoisie class, because they don't have the same entrepreneurial skills as a white bourgeoisie class to be able to provide actual wealth creation for the people that they come from. So I think, to put it all in a nutshell, I think that black excellence is a scam, because it's like saying, well, you know, you could win the lottery.
Yeah.
But you're not going to. But you could.
Well, it's like you can win the lottery because this person has. So what's wrong with you?
What's wrong with you? Why can't you pull yourself up?
Yeah.
I think we all bought into it at the time when it's like everyone was saying black excellence, and I felt like it was. It's interesting that he compared it to saying black power, though black excellence and black power for me don't sit in the same space. But that black excellence thing was like inspiring for a time, especially working in the creative space. That was where it was. I saw it a lot, like black excellence in storytelling, and we're telling our stories, and we're having ownership of our stories, and then it became like a swear word, and it started to irritate me because I'm like, you're using it as an excuse to shit on another black person, or to kind of say, well, black excellence is a way that you can't sit with us type thing. And when everyone was saying, oh, you can't sit with us, and having this kind of, as you were saying, the bourgeoisie and the black elite.
Well, where do the black elite live?
Where
they don't
do they
live in the black community.
No, exactly. They live out. They move out. So this black excellence thing, in contrast to who, or in alignment with who, and who are you looking as the benchmark of excellence, it's still against the white gaze, or still looking at white people as the benchmark of excellence. And that's what we're aspiring to be. The more controlled, the more conformed you are, then you're excellent. And if you're a bit rowdy, if you're a bit ghetto, as the word could be, then you're not excellent. And I absolutely hate it now. Hate that term.
Yeah, I hear.
I think it's also often seen compared to a European environment. For instance, if you look at universities, if you perform well at a European university, American university, that will be seen as black excellence. Respectfully, if you go to Nigeria, for instance, the universities are very, very decent in Lagos and in Abuja. If you perform well at university in Nigeria, it wouldn't necessarily be seen as black excellence by your people, by your friends, by your family. So my understanding would then be, what are you comparing it against? So clearly, if you know you're performing well at Harvard, but you're performing well at University of Lagos, why is it that one is seen as black excellence or that isn't? When respectfully, it's probably a lot, you know, better in terms of quality as well. You know, those my cousins that perform well at University of Lagos, I can't have a conversation with them about their topic that, you know, they're specialized in, because they're advanced when it comes to that knowledge.
Definitely.
So,
So what came first, the chicken or the egg? Is it black excellence exists amongst white racism, or white racism exists amongst black excellence? Because it sounds like both of them can't exist without each other.
Yeah. It's as long as we're held by their standards and bound by their standards, and that's where that's what it is. That's the line, because we're still bound by those ideals or whatever.
Because they were comparing themselves to us first.
Yes.
Egypt is a great example.
Yeah.
You know, and one of my elders, may rest in power, Dr. Leila Africa, said that we weren't comparing ourselves to white people when we were building pyramids. So why are we doing that now?
Because the very simplistic colonization, enslavement of us, did a number on us. And it's interesting. We always discuss, like, when will we rise out of that or not be bound by that? I don't know how do you navigate the world avoiding the white standards of anything, being black men?
I live in Ghana, so everyone's black.
Yeah, I hear. But you will see the dynamics, though. I'm sure there's. We're Ghanaian and we go, but
the thing is that Ghana, for instance, I think we're living in a special African Renaissance period right now, where now Ghana, though, you know, many people have been trying to turn Ghana into Miami for whatever reasons, it's still now where I grew up, and I was born in Barbados, my family from Barbados and Jamaica, but I grew up in the UK, and I knew of Africans who were calling themselves Caribbean because they were
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
like
There's a real.
embarrassed. Now people say I'm Ghanaian, I'm Nigerian, and they put that first. And whether that's come with the rise of Afrobeats and more representation in music, or whether that's come, with all of the amazing things that Nigerians and Ghanaians and Malayans and Kenyans, etc., have been doing all around the world in various corporate spaces. It's a thing now. People are proud to be African, right? So we're living in a time, let's just acknowledge that first, where people are now proud to be African in this context in 2025, where 30 years ago that was not the case.
Absolutely.
Right? But I think that when you go to Ghana, it's very different to Kenya, for instance. The malls are black, like most people and most businesses in the malls are black. Maybe you have a big supermarket that's owned by the Lebanese or whatever.
Yeah.
But most of the patrons in there are black. Most of the people who are serving you are black. And a lot of the businesses in there are black. Whereas in Kenya, a lot of the malls are Indian or European owned.
Okay.
And so you have representation in Ghana where you don't have the same representation in Kenya, for instance.
Right.
And the same thing with Ethiopia. When I go to a resort, my friends own this resort called Kariftu, and it's one of the best resorts in the world. Go there if you can go there. And most of the people who go to the resort are Ethiopian. And that for me is a very beautiful thing to see, where it's not like, for instance, in Jamaica or Barbados, or, I just came back from Barbados, where a lot of the best hotels are full of Europeans.
Yeah.
And they've basically brothelled out the country for their own needs. Now, when I'm going to Ghana at Christmas, the December thing that everybody's going there for, everybody that I see is black, and white people know how to behave themselves.
Right.
Yeah.
Right? They're on their P's and Q's,
Yeah.
right? Because they know that they're in a black country that's run by a black president, black cabinet, black businesses for black interests. Even if there is still that decolonial process happening, at least it's happening.
Yeah.
Right? In Ghana, some years ago, myself, Fuse ODGs, my good friend, Hamama, and a few others of us got skin bleaching products banned.
Yeah. Yes.
There was billboards with light-skinned people like my
Yeah.
complexion or Jay's complexion as a normal thing,
Yeah.
and then they were like, "No, we're not doing this anymore." After there was a social media, because now we have our own media, right?
Yeah.
After there was a social media outrage where we were like, "Hang on, why is Nivea and all these skincare brands putting bleaching products into West Africa? We're not having this," and we got it banned. That's something that, in Jamaica is not going to happen anytime soon.
Why?
Because a lot of people in Jamaica, unfortunately, there's a bleaching epidemic, and a lot of people in Jamaica, unfortunately, have this idea that if they bleach them skin, them turn up the thing. It's going to make them look good, and the government clearly must be making money from it. Because, for instance, I'll give you a bigger example than just, the aesthetics and personal lived experiences of people. I think there's 3 Caribbean countries that have embassies in Africa, and then the rest don't.
Okay.
Right?
Just 3.
Just 3. I think so. Ghana has a high commission in Barbados.
Yeah.
Jamaica has a high commission in Nigeria, and I think Trinidad also has one, and the rest of them don't have any. So you've got 40 million people who are black from the Caribbean, right? Who have the representation of maybe the equivalent of 4 or 5 million people, so 10% in Africa, and apart from that, they don't have that. So they're not even doing trade between each other.
Yeah. Yeah.
And there's no direct flight. So my friend Denta, you know Denta?
Yeah, of course.
She's getting a direct flight to Barbados, which is the first direct flight to Barbados for however long. So I'm plugging that. Everybody fly from Ghana to Barbados if you can, to go to the Goober Awards and do that. There's no direct flights.
Yeah.
There's not one. Can you imagine?
Do you know what? Sorry, we're going to go on so many tangents, and we'll bring you in as well, Jason. But that's interesting because I saw the invite in my inbox to come to Barbados for the Goober Awards. So, for those of you who don't know, the Goober Awards is an awards that's set up by a Ghanaian woman called Denta to celebrate Ghanaians. And I saw the invite to Barbados, and I was like, well, I can't get to Barbados. That's financial. Looking at that, but you've just put the the mindset behind it, which I didn't, I just saw it as, it's just going to Barbados. I even actually thought, why is Cooper going to Barbados? But just, it's interesting, the lack of information or what we don't know and don't understand. So the fact that Denta's promoting a through line, a direct flight from Ghana to Barbados and back.
It's revolutionary.
And then also having the awards around it. It's that.
So the awards will be in celebration of
Just
African excellence.
Yeah.
Just
Well, Africans excelling, but
And
it's
diaspora.
and diaspora, but it's the full completion of the Pan-African story is that we cut out Europe.
Yeah.
And we just trade between the Caribbean and Africa. We just trade between Africa and Black America. We trade between Africa and Brazil and Africans outside of. We don't have to include Europe in any of our things because ultimately, I just came back from InvestFest. You mentioned Earn Your Leisure.
Yeah.
They're my business partners for the city that we're building in Ghana. Why is it that we have to even consider European people? Like when everybody's going to InvestFest and I'd say go every year, it's the biggest black business festival in the world.
yeah.
Where's
when
it based? Sorry.
It's in Atlanta. But when everybody's going there, they're paying white people. Essentially, it's held at a place that is a white-owned space. Though go because it's lots of black businesses that are prospering.
Right.
But when we start doing these things in Barbados, when we start doing these things in Jamaica, when we start doing these things in Panama, when we start doing these things in Brazil, Colombia, etc., then we actually complete the unbroken circle because the transatlantic triangle exists only because we continue to allow it to exist, where we have to have people go into Europe and America for us to have our conversations. Look at how many flights that people pay when they fly in from Africa to the Caribbean or from the Caribbean to Africa and they're going to America, have to get a visa, going to the UK to then fly to Africa. Look at the terrible planes that they put us on.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Look
most
at
definitely.
the last gate at the airport when we
Yes,
want to fly to
always.
Nigeria or we want to fly to Ghana. Look at the racist people that are on those planes that don't want to serve us, the old TV screens. I feel like I'm going back in time every time I get on those planes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And why is there no Ghana Airways?
Yeah.
I mean,
We've
that's
asked that a lot.
That's the question.
Why is there no international Nigerian Airways? I mean, before it was Okada Airways, but why is there not one now that when everybody's trying to fly to Lagos for Christmas to Tunna, why are they flying on Delta?
Yeah.
And look at the prices.
And I'm literally
Look
just
at
about to say the prices
I'm
go
telling you,
up.
for an economy ticket, that price to go anywhere in the world. From here in London, it goes from being like £800 or whatever it
Get a
is.
good one.
Yeah, my
Right.
sister has just gone to Ghana now, 600. If I want to go and meet her in December,
Right.
I am definitely
2
paying.
bags, 3 bags.
Exactly.
I'm trying to book now, and we're just like,
It's over a grand now, isn't it?
yeah,
Already?
it's over a grand. I'm even scared because I need to go. I have to go at Christmas.
Right, but if you book it, like I remember, I flew from New York to Ghana. I had to go because of various things that I was doing. I think it was 2021. And I was like, yeah, I'll just get it, a few days before, it'll be fine.
Wow.
I paid $3,500
Not a few
for
days
an
before. that's
economy
what-
ticket.
No, and it's economy as
to
well.
Bomba.
It's actually out of order.
So there needs to be direct flights.
There needs to be.
Yeah.
They need, let alone us trying to just, do the whole self-love thing, because me and my friends, a bunch of different accounts, like 10 years ago when social media started changing from just posting pictures of your food to actually social justice movements, etc. And the buzzword, we made the buzzword melanin, and then we made the buzz around natural hair, and then there's this buzz around black excellence that's come. There needs to be a buzz around black trade.
100%.
African, black, Afro-Caribbean, Afro-American, African trade. That for me is the next thing that, at least it's going to give back to us.
100%.
I wholly agree with this, but there seems to be like a real rising movement within Black American spaces that don't want this to take place. I don't know why, but it just seems to be growing. When you think of Essence Fest this year, and there was more African vendors there, and then you had the whole backlash, like the Africans are taking over.
And the ADOS movement,
It's just the weirdest space to occupy, I would say maybe the last two or 3 years online, having Pan-African ideology seems to be met with a whole load of people that are like, drop us out, leave us out of this. Like, why are you guys trying to take over? We're not African. Now you can't even call them African Americans.
And as you said, it's about the rebranding and getting the new buzzword and not having it be just a buzzword. And it's trade. It is trade. And also it's building the respect for the countries and changing the mindset, because I think when we talk about the diaspora wars and reputation of countries and stuff like that, it's breaking down those barriers, those negative stereotypes, because we all grew up with that kind of, okay, Africans always fly, you know, the usual flies, mud huts, all that stuff. Americans got that negative stereotype as well. And then what's fed back from America into African countries and the UK is that ghetto, gangbanger, so then you have that negative stereotype about each other. It's a rebrand. Everything needs a rebrand.
I think it doesn't really exist. I think the diaspora wars only exist online, because I don't think that I don't think that there's Nigerians killing African Americans or there's Trinidadians. So I think it's almost like gossip, and it's a social construct.
Just to cut in, we definitely agree with that. That is definitely a lot of noise and bots online. But then when we've gone live and had conversations with actual Americans and a few people that rise above the parapet, that rise above the noise and actually speak on it, there's one or two people have actually spoken about growing up and interacting, whether it's Africans in America or Black Americans in America dealing with Africans, that the African immigrants are like, keep away from those because you're going to be tarnished with that same brush, at how the government views them. And then, as I said, that negative stereotype, if you're African, you're poor, you're this, you come from this kind of, it's an embarrassment to even identify with Africa because you're thinking about slavery, you're thinking about poverty, being Black American. So there are people that have actually spoken about the real, as well as now the people that are hyping it on the ground as the social media like bots and stuff.
So Africa loses each year 2.9 billion US dollars in negative propaganda about Africa.
Wow.
Right? And that's bingo.
2.9 billion.
2.9 billion.
How do you quantify that?
Well, don't get on planes because it's dangerous in Africa.
Right.
Oh,
yes.
Well, if you go to Africa, they don't have infrastructure. They don't have roads. You're not going to be able to eat food, etc., etc. So that's why someone's going to pick a Bali over picking an Abuja, right? Because they think that you can only go there now because, you know, Burner, God bless him, he's my brethren, but Burner's driving around in a Rolls Royce. So go and follow him to a club, and then after that, get back on the plane and leave.
Okay.
Right? So nobody's... not nobody, but the branding around it is not that you can go there and get healthy or do a spiritual retreat. Given the fact that now it goes back to the same superstition and nonsense and anti-blackness that exists and anti-black spirituality that exists, that you can go and do a prayer in a Buddhist temple, but go and do a animism ceremony or go and see a Ifa priest, and now it's black magic.
Exactly.
Right? So, but it's the same thing that I've grown up with, because I grew up with locks and I grew up Rasta. And as soon as you have locks, it like pulls out of people this visceral racism that maybe they even know that existed, but they see people with locks as their exact ops, right?
Right.
And there's the whole stories around it, whether they did Medusa. And the whole story around Medusa actually was that the woman was so beautiful that you froze.
Yeah.
Not that she was evil and she'd freeze you, turn you to stone.
Yeah.
And aside from that, and the 2.9 billion that's being lost every single year because of the anti-African propaganda that still exists to this day, there's also the fact that and I say this statistic nearly every time I speak on anything. I don't speak that often, but when I do, Asia-Pacific trade, so inter-Asia trade and Asia-Pacific trade is 67%. Trade in the EU is 62%, and intra-African trade is 12%. So it goes back to what you're saying about the shea butter thing and the products. We don't even trade with each other within Africa because of the colonial borders that still exist, that we still uphold.
Yeah.
And so how are we going to migrate our, want for this African unity into a lived reality for African Americans and Africans coming together, or Afro-Caribbeans and Africans coming together, when in Africa itself, there's not even trade amongst other African countries to the degree that Africa could be self-sustainable. Absolutely. Because we say that Africa would be self-sustainable if it was just left alone, right? But the reality is that most of the cars and the batteries, most of the infrastructure and the development projects right now is going to China.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And a lot of people don't know this. You might know this. You might not know this. But between 2007 and 2012, every single night, there was a data server that was opening and sending all of the information from the African Union building that was built in Addis Ababa to China because the Chinese built it. And what do you think they did? They installed cameras, they installed microphones, and when they had all of this information going to them every night, they would turn up with their deals and their proposals because they...
For 5 whole years.
For 5 whole years. So the Chinese built it.
Can't cope.
The Chinese built the African Union building because we are giving our infrastructure development projects to Chinese.
Everything, yeah.
And then the Chinese, obviously, espionage and intelligence, they built basically a back door into all of our stuff.
Yeah.
And then they somehow just knew where all the mines were and what we were doing with all of our projects and where we needed roads. And they would just turn up with a contract saying, hey, guys, here's an offer. And we would sign it because that's what we needed. And it was almost like these Chinese were coming in as business magicians, economic magicians.
God.
But the reality is they were just spying on us.
Yeah.
Because we allowed them. Could you imagine a bunch of Nigerian people build the Pentagon?
No, absolutely.
It wouldn't
not.
happen.
No.
Could you imagine a bunch of Kenyan people build MI6?
No.
Right, but what happened? You know, we got Chinese to build and oversee the African Union where all of our trade meetings and all of our political meetings in Africa are happening. So we have a long way to go.
We do.
And I think that the Diaspora Wars, honestly, I've never been debated on this and been beaten or backed into a corner because the fact of the matter is that rather than add fuel to the fire, you just pour water on everything and say, let's have things grow. Because Pan-Africanism as a concept actually is not an African concept. It came from the Caribbean. Though Kwame Nkrumah pushed it, Marcus Garvey and Jamaicans actually started it, right? And then you had, you know, the Ethiopians with the Coptic Church. They had this, but then, you know, you have Eastern Europeans that are also Orthodox Christians. So let me not speak on that, but in particular, Marcus Garvey, reggae, Rastafari was pushing this agenda of Pan-Africanism while the Biafra War was still going on, right? While there was still, and still to this day, there are ethnic groups in Somalia at war with each other, can't seem to get on and have been murdering each other for the last 30 years. You've got Rastas in Jamaica, Barbados and Trinidad singing about Africa Unite and Africa must unite. So it's like, actually, we've got a lot of work to do within Africa itself because I realized traveling in Africa for the last 10 years now, that actually you have, when somebody is in Africa, and I tried to make this point years ago, and this is why I don't actually come to the UK that much or do much in the UK, because the UK has this depressive cancel culture, tear down culture, depression, right? But I said on a live, can't go live anymore for whatever reason, but
You still can't go live?
no, I'm banned for a year and then every year they extend it. But I said this to a woman on a live, she's like, I'm black. And I said to her, you're not black, you're Somali. And I didn't mean it as a dismissive thing. I meant to say, saying that you're black doesn't tell me anything about you.
Right.
Saying she's Somali tells me something
More
about her,
about you.
right? Saying that somebody's white doesn't tell me anything about them. Saying that they're German tells me something about them, right? And so I said, you're not black, you're Somali. And then, you know, are you then Somali Isak? Are you the various ethnic groups? I don't know all of them anymore. I can't remember them. And then from the clan or the ethnic group that you have your sub-clan, right? So blackness has no relevance really in Africa. If you're in Ghana, you're not black.
Yeah.
You're Ghanaian. And the thing is that you're not even really Ghanaian until you leave Ghana. In Ghana, you're Ewe, you're Fanti, you're Akan, you're Ashanti. Like you're something that means something, right? And then when you leave Ghana and you go in the rest of Africa, now you're Ghanaian.
Yeah.
Ewe and Ashanti doesn't mean anything anymore. And then when you leave Africa, now you're black.
Yeah.
So you just get marginalized and removed from, and it's like, actually, whether it's, you know, the Bloods and the Crips in LA fighting each other for various, you know, political and gang-related reasons that are to do with the trade of drugs, or whether you are Ashanti and Fanti fighting each other for land and territory. The fighting is the thing that is allowing the devils to come in and divide us, because what is a devil? It's just somebody that devalues you, right? And so they come in, whether they come in with their contracts that are for their benefit more than it is for our benefit, or whether they come in with their bot-assisted diaspora wars that fuel fake fires to try and create this idea of division amongst us, when the reality is that blacks in the UK or in Brazil or in North America who are African, Afro-Caribbean, and are African-American, or, you know, South African-American or Afro-Colombian or whatever, they're not killing each other based on the fact that, you know, they are of a different ethnic disposition. It just Twitter fingers. But the reality is, though it might harm some businesses where they're like, boycott this black business, boycott this African business, we need to get over that. But the reality is, I think that actually that we're paying it more dividends than what it actually is. I think that it is a weaponized creation of Europeans that pit us against each other to fight each other, and we end up spending more time arguing about our differences than celebrating our than celebrating our similarities. And we could actually spend more time saying, oh, what, you need shea butter and you're African American? Okay, cool. I got this brother in Ghana and he's got the real thing and he'll get that to you. Or I got this sister and she's got the real cocoa and she'll get that to you. But rather than that, we'd spend hours arguing online rather than building. So it's easier to tear down than it is to build. And that's why everybody's not building.
On that note, welcome to Your Aunties Could Never. I'm Auntie AK, the auntie of all aunties, and I'm here with...
I am Nana, aka the Black Fairy, aka Dark and Lovely.
And we are joined by, as you've heard already, as you've been watching raptly, we are joined by the wonderful Chaka Bars. Now your thing is Shaka Zulu. What are we calling you, sir?
Just call me Chaka.
Chaka.
I was. My birth name is Chaka, and I was named after Shaka Zulu. Shaka Bars was like the fitness thing that I did a big fitness movement here in London some years ago.
Spartan.
Yes, the Spartan fam. But I think that Shaka Zulu is more significant and holds more relevance because not everybody wants to work out, you know.
That part. Tell me about it. And tell me about it. And we're joined by Jason, Adetola, Mackson.
Yes.
Welcome.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Tell us a bit about who you are.
Yes, so I go by the Electric Tribe on social media. The Electric Tribe started, I guess 5-6 years ago now. I started this page. My mum had a particular type of cancer, Hodgkin lymphoma. And my sister, my mum and I would come up with different recipes to help on a journey to feel better after the cancer. And the foods that served the best were plant-based foods, electric foods. That's how I did some research. I found a lot about Dr. Sebi. He talked about the alkaline diet, electricity in food. So I just started sharing pictures of the foods that served my mum well on her journey. And then later that turned into a community. So I called it the Electric Tribe. People that actually cared about the food, what they put into their body. We then ended up going foraging together in groups. Foraging is basically just going into the woods, collecting plants that are edible or medicinal. And we want to show people that you don't have to go out of the city to do that. You can actually do that in a place like London. If you know what you're looking for. And that path led me to write my own cookbook on process, in which I've gathered and put together all of the recipes that I've come up with over the years. And it's a interesting process because that was never initially the aim, but sometimes, you know, and life puts you in positions where you know, you just create something that you never really expected. You just got to put in the work, and eventually life, got whatever you want to call it, presents something to you. And that's how the Electric Tribe was birthed.
We were very stuck on the foraging.
Yeah. Because that's how I saw your stuff. My sister sent me one of your videos and was like, we should go foraging. I was like, absolutely not.
Foraging.
Why are you scared?
I hate mud.
That's not happening. For me, it's the insects. It's what I'm going to see going along the way. And she was like, this would be the best thing for you to confront everything. Like, let's go and do it and find out how to eat properly. She also followed Dr. Sebi as well. I How easy is it, really?
Forage.
To forage in London.
Yes.
You know what? I'm glad we have Tesco and Sainsbury's and all the supermarkets now, because obviously that is very convenient. And you know, I always say is we forget how recent, you know, our grandparents, and even if you go to the Caribbean now, let's say you go to Jamaica, a lot of, maybe not our parents' generation, but our grandparents' generation, they still know how to forage. They can go, you know, to the woods. They can tell you, okay, this is what I use this plant for. This is what you use this plant for. Foraging is an interesting term, but it basically just means knowing what grows in your backyard and what to use it for. And
So
again,
what have we got in the UK that we can forage?
there's a lot. So even I always say, as a kid, everyone was a forager, because you probably foraged blackberries.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
always.
blackberries,
I
the
did
very
do
first
that.
thing that you probably foraged when you was
Okay,
a
for
kid.
real.
Yeah.
That is foraging.
Okay.
Collecting food. You can collect nettles. You know, the ones that sting you. Stinging nettles. They're very high in vitamin C. They actually got more calcium than cow's milk per 100 milliliter. So you can use them in a form of tea. A lot of people love nettle tea, in particular for women. It's very good. You can collect cleavers. It's another green. That's the one that sticks to you. Cleavers is very good as you can have that as a cleavers tonic first thing in the morning. Tastes like cucumber water. You can have hawthorn, which is the English avocado, people call it. And is basically, it's like it's a red fruit, and it has a seed like an avocado. It's just a lot smaller. You can get elderberries, which people love now, pay hundreds of pounds for on Amazon when you can collect them from your local woodland. So there's a lot. You can have chickweed. There's a lot of leafy greens, even apples. You know, if you know where to forage for apples, if you know where to forage for cherries and pears. So it's really just about, you know, tapping into. I always say the first supermarket in the UK opened less than 100 years ago. It was in the 1940s when the first supermarket opened in the UK. And before that, we didn't all go out and forage. We had markets and everything that we could go to, but the majority still grew their own food and still had a lot of plants that they could refer to, and would just grab them in their backyard. So foraging is not a new practice. It's something that we've always practiced. It's just now with the convenience of supermarkets, we don't really tap into that anymore.
And also the distrust, just like I see things growing around. I do think I'm a little bit of a nature person. I think I can identify certain vegetables and fruits and stuff.
Yeah.
And animals. I do. I'm a naturist.
I wouldn't trust eating a berry anymore now.
But that's the thing, because we've got
It's lack of
blackberries
knowledge, though.
in abundance in my block of flats. There's bare, but I'm thinking my council's so disgusting and trampy.
Course, yeah.
The soil that it's growing out of is probably full of excrement and all that stuff.
Of course.
I don't want to eat that berry.
Of course.
We have bare, and the fact that blackberries are so expensive, I don't understand that.
They
They're
are
so
so
expensive,
expensive, yeah.
but yet they grow just anyhow.
Yeah.
But I just won't eat the ones in my estate because I feel like it's got.
Of
crap
course,
there.
yeah.
Do you go foraging with Jason when you're here? Have you
I'm not
been?
here.
Ever? Oh yeah,
He's
you
not
like
been
you
here
like
for
not
that.
here.
Literally, from now till a year ago from now, I've been here for 4 days.
Oh really?
I'm here because it's my niece's birthday yesterday.
Okay.
Or
Happy
her
birthday,
party
niece.
was
Happy
yesterday.
birthday, niece.
And then I'm flying out.
Okay.
Because the reality is, you know, if you have melanin, you have a tropically adapted skeleton. And I am not. I'm not from here.
I hear it.
I'm not accustomed to here. I'm saying though, people here should maybe go and forage for them
They
food
should forage.
because they need to lose some weight. No, because if you wake up and you have everything in there, something, right?
Yeah.
In your fridge, in your cupboards, and you don't have to actually walk anywhere to do anything. It's like, all right, if you look at you can Google this. Whoever's watching this at home, Google this. I'll give you an example. You said you were Ghanaian, right?
Yes.
I'm a Ghanaian citizen now. I live in Ghana. I have my Ghanaian passport.
Look at that, you've got more than us.
I'm proud to be Ghanaian.
Aquapa.
Thank you very much. Now they're like the whole wars between is it Obuake and Akwaba, like the
Who says Obuake?
the Ga
Oh,
and
Ga.
the-
Oh, okay. See, this is my husband's Ghana, and I still don't know
I can't
many
do
words.
Ga. I'm Ashanti.
Do you see? There
Well,
you
it's just
go.
joke. It's jokes though.
But
yeah.
but Ghanaian women in Ghana, the obesity rate is 34%. Ghanaian women in the West, the obesity rate is 55 to 60%.
Really?
Ghanaian women. Yes.
Oh no.
What do you think the reason behind this?
Because nobody's foraging.
I
would say
well, obviously the convenience of fast food and
The reason behind it is because in Ghana, I don't think that the diet is particularly good.
Yeah.
No.
And I think that West African diet is a post-colonial diet. There's too much synthesized palm oils.
Yeah.
There's too much fried food. There was never a frying pan ever found in ancient African history. That's a modern thing. With whether it's jollof, whether it's palm nut, where we start every dish with frying.
Yeah.
Right. Which doesn't make any sense. You're putting hydrogenated fats into your body. That's not African, right?
Okay.
It's just not. People can say it is because it's what Africans do now.
Yeah.
But it's not culturally, traditionally, historically
what we should be.
African,
Okay.
right? So I don't think the Ghanaian diet's great, and it's people will run from salad, like people there are like, I'm eating my banku, I'm eating my kenke, I'm eating my fried plantain, I'm eating my gobe
Actually
beans.
get told not to have salad because of the water.
I was just about to say, because the similar why I'm not going to pick
Yeah.
a blackberry from my estate is similar to why we're going to feel uncomfortable about
But
vegetables.
also, like, I live in Ghana now.
Yeah.
I do fine. I've never been sick, right?
Yeah.
But when I make my salads, I have to buy salads from the white people store, from the Lebanese store.
Yes.
I wash it with bottled water,
Yeah.
which is not everybody can do that, right? But then also, there are many Ghanaian dishes that are plant-based.
Yes.
Yeah.
And a lot of African dishes that are plant-based. It's just now people, they want to chop the meats,
Yeah.
Bit of goat
right?
meat.
And then also, yeah.
That as a symbol of wealth and as a symbol of convenience. Whereas before, if you had to forage, and that there's this whole thing, this narrative now with the different diets that exist, the hunter-gatherer thing, right? We were all hunter-gatherers, but the reality is most of the food that was ate was foraged or gathered.
Yeah.
Right? 80% of the food that was ate was foraged and gathered. And the reason why the emphasis is not on that, because 80% of that food that we were eating was gathered by women and children. So you don't get to say the hunter man and glorify the patriarchy when you tell the story of the gatherer.
Right.
But most Africans were plant-based. Right?
Right.
They were eating that food traditionally, just because a mango tree is going to drop off 200 mangoes every single year.
Yeah.
Or you have to go and stalk a deer in the bush for 8 hours. Well, why don't you just eat
Get
the
the
mangoes?
mango.
'Cause,
Yeah.
Yes.
There.
Right.
And avocado.
Not saying that Africans didn't eat meat. Africans did eat meat. But a lot of the food that Africans ate, who especially working class Africans or rural Africans, it was fish. They would fish because the rivers were there, and they would do it seasonally and at the convenience of, the health of the rivers.
Working with nature.
Right, they
rather
wouldn't
than against.
drag a huge net
Yeah.
down
Exactly.
like
Yes.
the ocean trawlers now
Yes.
that are, right.
Yeah.
So, where you look at Ghanaian women in particular, and this is a thing that I joke with my friends, the Ethiopian women in Ethiopia are far more attractive than the Ethiopian women in the diaspora. Because as soon as you get on that plane, your McDonald's, your Five Guys, your Burger Kings, your Red Lobster, your Chick-fil-A, and the diet changes. You go from eating an indigenous diet where there's not really any junk food, fast food, convenience, or snacks, to eating a diet that's based off of snacks, starch, blood, processed foods, etc., etc.
All
So
the sugars.
when you're in Ethiopia, I've pivoted now, but we're in Ethiopia now. when you're in Ethiopia, 180 days of the year, because they're very religious, they're very Christian. It's Orthodox Christianity. It's not the Christianity like pray for money kind of in a Rolls Royce Christianity.
Yeah.
And white Jesus nonsense. It's a spiritual cleansing. Everybody wears all white, and 180 days out of the year they're fasting. Right. So 180 days out of the year, every Wednesday and every Friday, every single Ethiopian every single Ethiopian restaurant, which is most of the restaurants there, only serve vegan food. That's not because they're trying to save the animals. They eat a lot of animals. But that's because for their religious purposes, they are fasting, and in order to fast, you can't eat meat. Right? So whether it's Lent, whether it's Christmas, and it's just New Year's there, the true New Year's, which is September 10th, September 11th, right? Because they're on the real calendar and we're on a fake calendar. Or whether it's the true birthday of Jesus, which is not my birthday, which is the 25th of December, but it is actually the 7th of January, they are fasting, right? And they'll fast before, and then after they'll eat their food. And they call it Beyenet or Tzommekup, right? And that is their traditional food. And they'll eat all this food, and then they get on a plane, they fly to America, and they don't do that stuff anymore, and then they get big. And then they start blaming the fact that they're unhappy on the fact that a bunch of other circumstantial environmental things rather than the fact that they're just not healthy. Because you cannot be healthy, right, and be unhappy for too long. You cannot be unhealthy and be happy for too long. Because you're always going to get sick. Who's happy when they're sick?
Okay.
Fair.
I hear that.
Nobody. When you're clogged up, what do you want to do? You want to get well. That's all you can think of is getting well.
Back hurts.
Right. So
diarrhea.
you have all of these people now who are on it's called a SAD diet, the standard American diet. It's a SAD diet. You have all of the people here who have a SAD disorder, seasonal affective disorder, because we're not getting enough sun.
Yeah.
So you have all of these people who are unhappy spiritually, unhappy physically and health-wise, unhappy economically, unhappy culturally. The only time we're actually happy is when we get together and celebrate our Africanness in a white people country, right? And then you wonder why people are unhappy. So that's why 55% of Ghanaian women in the West to 60% are obese. And in Africa, in Ghana, it's only 35% because of the diet and the fact that the diet in Ghana is not amazing, but the diet in the West is trash.
Yeah.
Do you guys ever get frustrated, and James, I'll speak to you on this, with how, maybe whether or not you found it easy to be a healthy eater and live a healthy lifestyle? Do you ever find it frustrating that we just don't get it together and just stop eating the crap? Understanding the convenience, but because when you're on that journey, I'm sure on the work, but both of you do, in trying to advocate for us to be better and do better, but you're met with so much resistance.
All the excuses that people will have.
You answer.
You know
I'm
what?
37 and you're 37, so you're 10 years behind me.
Yeah, I think, you know what, for me, I understand, like, biologically, we're programmed for the path of least resistance.
Yes.
That's a biological instinct. So whatever is easiest in order for us to feel satisfied, we'll go for. That can be, you can use that for sex, you can use that for food, you can use that for reaching riches or whatever it is. Like, whatever's easiest in order for you to feel good makes sense. McDonald's, if I'm hungry after this, is around the corner. I can go to McDonald's, grab a meal. If I want to eat healthy, either I'll have to travel to a health store or I'll have to prepare it myself at home. So I understand biologically it does not necessarily make sense for you to eat healthy in the environment that we live in today. So you have to go out of your own way in order to get there. So I understand. And at the same time, I know food is more than just food, is culture as well. There's people arguing with me for years that, they call me white for eating a plant-based diet. They call me white for going into the woods and going foraging. Really? They call it white activities. I'm sure, Chaka, you've heard this many times, being called white for eating a plant-based diet. When they don't necessarily understand that there's nothing, white or black about eating foods that are natural to the environment that you live in. That's just food. There's no white or black in it, it's just food. And that's why I was so fascinated by Dr. Sebi and the alkaline diet, because he was the first person that I saw promoting a diet that is focused around foods that grow naturally in Africa and the Caribbean. So coming back to what you said, I don't really get frustrated. It's more so, I think you have to be the example that you want to see in the world. There's no point me telling people, oh, you have to do this or you have to do that. That's never going to work. People are just going to get emotionally attached to whatever they're promoting right now, whatever they're living right now. And then they see it as an argument. But if they just see someone doing some, for instance, I've seen Chaka doing this thing for, I don't know how many years, like I think like 10 years ago. So like he was one of the first people I saw doing this thing. So for me, seeing another black man that is strong, that has good skin, whatever, living that lifestyle, for me is an example. Maybe I should be doing that as well. I can be doing that as well. So I just want to be the living example of the truth that I want to see in the world. And that's really all I have to focus on.
That is fair.
Yeah.
10
That is
years
fair.
on, how does it feel?
Yeah, man, everything is everything. I was raised like this because I was raised Rasta.
Okay.
So the thing is this whole, like you said, white thing being plant-based and white thing going to get food from the land. We were farmers before we were kings in Africa. It is inherently African to be a farmer, but just because of the legacy of slavery and the legacy of colonialism, now we're like, we don't want to get our hands in the dirt. We don't want to be farmers. We don't want to associate ourselves with the soil because the soil held so much trauma for us for so long because of those things. But the reality is that before feudalism, before imperialism, before capitalism, there was communalism, and we were farmers. So I don't see any disassociation between, personally, between me being a farmer and being black, or me being a farmer and being African, me being a farmer and being Caribbean. But I was raised on a plant-based diet because Rasta was the first, from what I was seeing, Rasta was the first black vegans in the world. The black vegan movement, the Rastafari movement. We call it Ito movement because it's Ito food. Ito food is vital food. That was the first. Actually, we were going back to Africa in terms of, we couldn't physically get there, a lot of us, but we're going back to Africa in terms of the way that we eat, the way that we dress, the way that we have our hair, the God and the deities that we celebrate. That's that. So for me, it's not an alien thing. That's why I speak to everybody and say everybody should, whether or not they agree with their religion of Rasta, they should teach them the lifestyle, because the lifestyle, the liberty of Rastafari is one of the best lifestyles that you can live, because you do not see any overweight. If they're a true Rasta, you don't see any overweight Rastas. There's no such thing as a Rasta that's just like drink. We don't drink. We don't eat meat. We don't do any of the things that we know are detrimental to health. We don't do it. So when I was younger and I first started upon this thing, like kind of, between the age of 13 and 23, I ate meat, and then I haven't since, right? And when I first came back to the path, I was trying to get everybody to eat like that I was doing the thing, like I was judging people and trying to, you can lead a horse to water, you can't make it drink. So I was just like, you know what? Let me just do this thing and see who comes. Now, at 37, when I was 27, I was 25, everybody was like, yeah, that's not African, that's not Caribbean, you're a health freak, you're a this, you're a that, you're a this. Now everybody's like, my mom's got cancer, what do I do? Or, I've just got fibroids and I can't feel comfortable when I'm sitting down. It takes me hours to go to sleep. Now everybody's in my inbox, and that's why in the link in my bio on Instagram, I have a health and wellness community. If you send me your emails, I'll invite you all to it. And it's got all my recipes in there. It's got all my workouts in there. It's my water fasting group, and people come there and they get healed. And people pay a subscription to now come and get healthy. Whereas before, I couldn't tell them for free. So now it's kind of come full circle, because the things that are relevant to you when you're in your mid-20s definitely are different when you're in your mid-40s, right? Once you start getting to a place where you're like, actually, do I want, because like you said, food is cultural, right? So you tell somebody, you know what, you can't eat egusi with wele because, cow skin, and where does that cow even come from, and is it even good for you? And it's full of palm oil and this and that. And they're like, no, that's Nigerian. You can't tell me. Because my grandma, and they'll go off into an emotional tangent, right? So where before that emotional prejudice, that emotional commitment to ignorance, which is all it is not wanting to learn because your family's taught you that this is what the food that you eat. Now people are actually like, when I'm my parents' age, do I want the health problems that they're having?
We've seen it all,
Same,
innit? The back issues, the knee replacements, the hip replacements.
It's also, I feel like as a community, we're fighting over the wrong food. So a lot of the time we'd fight, I need my cow, whatever skin or whatever in there. The question is, when did cows become naturalized in Nigeria? They're not adapted to this environment. So it's quite a new animal in that environment. Whereas when there's foods like fonio, which is the most commonly grown, and the best adapted grain in all of West Africa. You don't need help-grown fonio. Fonio grows wild everywhere in West Africa, but we don't. When I went to Nigeria, I couldn't find fonio anywhere. I could find white European flour everywhere. I could find white rice everywhere from China. I know that like Nigeria is the highest, is the third highest exporter of tomatoes, but the highest importer of tomatoes in the world. And imagine a country that exports that much tomatoes, importing tomatoes from Holland, from China, when they're not even giving it to their own people. When you go to a market in Nigeria, there's tomatoes everywhere. So why do you need to import it from other countries when you can give it to your own people?
So tomato paste, because
tomato paste,
manufacturing.
Exactly, and we use it for everything. And it's the same with fonio again. But even, you could go back. That's why I find Dr. Sabi's approach so interesting. We're fighting over the wrong foods, even foods like cassava, which we now see as a staple in West Africa, is a Portuguese food. So it's not even, I had arguments with all of my family over this, but it's where the emotional attachment to foods
it's identity.
Exactly. You need to have a healthy detachment.
It's actually a Brazilian food imported by the Portuguese.
Exactly.
But it's not our food. He makes a great point. We will die of a gari.
I know.
We will die of, literally, it's causing, it's full of cyanide. It poisons your kidneys, right? People, oftentimes you have people who are superstitious. Oh yeah, my uncle was poisoned. My auntie was poisoned. It's like, no, the food was poisoning them. Right? Nobody poisoned them. Nobody was trying to poison them. They're trying to poison themselves every day. Have you noticed this thing in Africa? When a man gets to a certain age, he gets pregnant.
The hard belly.
Right, you've seen that thing. It's stuck in there because the thing is like cassava, for instance, can grow to the full size of the tuber underground and stay there for months and never rot, and no insect touches it. Do you really want to eat something that an insect doesn't touch and doesn't rot? And then it goes in your body and your body can't break it down. That doesn't make no sense. But we now are saying whether it's, I do a lot of work in Congo, and I'm speaking to people. It's called manioc. Cassava in Congo is called manioc. And I'm speaking to them about manioc, and I'm like, this is not Congolese, And they're like, you're crazy. This is Congolese. Like, who are you? You light skin, whatever. Why are you trying to tell me this? And I'm like, just because you know an African language doesn't mean you know African history. It's not taught in schools. So all of these Portuguese that were enslaving Africans basically created these plantations in West Africa so that they could keep Africans alive for long enough to get them across on the ship. And then what we were given in the Caribbean, each week we were given a ration of 1 pound of saltfish, 1 pound of 1 pound of salt beef, and 3 to 6 loaves of cassava bread, 3 to 6 loaves of cassava bread each week. And that was what kept us alive to work sugarcane plantations. That was what kept us alive to work slavery for white people. And now we season it up and we do all these things to it, and we're like, that's our food. But when I'm speaking to people about this diaspora wars, people don't realize there's 2 countries in between Nigeria and Ghana. Because of the fact that we both are speaking English language, so they ignore Togo and Benin. They ignore that, and because we don't speak to you because you speak French. So you're not you're not in the Jollof wars, right?
We do.
And the Jollof wars for me is the most banter, but also the most pointless narrative ever, because the rice comes from China, the tomato comes from Mexico, the onion comes from India. So when you start speaking about and the meats that you're putting in there are European imports. So when you start speaking about these foods as culturally Nigerian, culturally Ghanaian, and we are proud and this is the best food, well, is it?
The wrong word.
So, I mean, listen, do you know what? We need 14 more hours.
And Wolof.
And
Wolof. Jollof. Wolof. It's actually Senegalese anyway.
We know.
And they grow their rice from Senegal, which stopped a famine in 1201.
Nice.
Is it African rice we're even eating?
Okay. We've got like 10,000 things to get through. We've got maybe half an hour left.
Do you think?
But you touched on so many things. We're going to try and run through everything. You spoke about, let's go with you being the light-skinned man in the room. And it is quite historically common that...
I'm not the only light-skinned man in the room.
No, you're the only one. No,
Two of you.
who are speaking on a subject where your complexion will come into challenge because it's easy for you. You're light-skinned, you're this and that. And how can you and how dare you and what's your experience? How do you navigate that being light-skinned men in the room? And historically, there have been like quite prominent light-skinned figures who are very passionate about black, whether it's Pan-Africanism, whether it's black elitism or stuff like that. What is that you can speak to from your experience and who you are?
I would say it depends on your community. You are your community. For me, like my dad is obviously from Nigeria. I grew up with my dad. So for me, I was brought up by my dad. So I am obviously going to take on my dad was he moved to Germany when he was, I think, 28, 29. So growing up, like, he didn't speak German. You know, it's, for me, of course, I'm going to take on my dad's teachings, my dad's culture. In London, obviously, you know, you have a lot of Nigerians as well. My family is in Peckham. So obviously I would spend a lot of time around Nigerians. And this is what, you know, I would identify. If I'm in Europe, I'm seen as a black man. If I'm in Nigeria, I was there a couple of months ago, obviously I'm seen as Oyibo, white man. So it depends on your context. It depends on where you are.
How does it affect you though? Like, does it affect you?
You know what? I'm 27 now, so I feel like I know who I am. It doesn't bother me. It doesn't matter. But obviously, like, when you're younger, I remember when I went to Nigeria for the very first time when I was 6 years old. I didn't know that there was a difference between me and my cousin. Like, it's just when people tell you, like, oh, when I played football in Germany, when people will tell you, like, you know, they make it obvious that you're different. And obviously they're referring to the external, like, what is visible. But to me, I always had a strong dad behind me. So to me, that was never really an issue, because if there was anything, my dad backed me up. So I always had that behind me. And that's why for me, it was never really an issue questioning that. I always knew who I was and I knew how I grew up. So I didn't have to question that. Same way you grew up in Barbados. You was around people of color a lot.
No, I grew up in UK.
Oh, you grew up in
UK
UK?
when I was like 2.
Okay, so you in London?
No, in Coventry and then Leeds.
So that would be a completely different experience, no? You're probably surrounded, but you're probably the only one that looked like you, know?
If I was in a white community. But when I was in the Caribbean community, there was no white people. So it depends on where I was.
Yeah, so for me, like, to sum it up, like, for me, it's always based on who you're surrounded by. And I was lucky that, you know, I was blessed that my dad was such a strong figure in my life. So for me, that was never really an issue. It's only later on in life when, you know, you start putting yourself into positions where people then will say, oh, well, you can't really talk about this because of this and that.
That's the part.
Yeah, you can't talk about this, you can't talk about that. And obviously, I feel like as being mixed race, there's not really that much of a cultural, there's not much of a community between mixed race people. Either you identify as black or white. I feel like it's when you're in Europe, for instance, it's either you're one of them or you're one of them. And for me, it was there's nothing I could do about it. People will put me in that category anyway, in the black category anyway. So for me, it wasn't that much of an issue growing up.
Just what it is.
Yeah.
What about you in the space? Because you're in Africa, you're telling Africans to be better Africans with your light-skinned self.
I mean, first of all, I'm a full-time G. So you have to know yourself before you show yourself.
I hear it. Yeah.
So I feel like if people are jealous of me because I'm the one with the clear message and they're still trying to figure it out, I would say don't focus on me, focus on the message.
Okay.
Whether it's the Bible, the Torah, or the Quran, it doesn't matter about the messenger. Did you get the message? Right? And can that add to your life? Right? People taking into context individual prejudice and bias, where someone's speaking about the macro, the systemic causes of things, and now they're like, yeah, but he's light-skinned, so. It makes me feel like they have a continuous emotional commitment to ignorance. They just have a prejudice, and they're just emotional, and they're just
that.
ignorant.
You've got a continuous emotional attachment to it. Yeah.
Right?
Okay.
Because the reality is that I've always been beautiful. I've always been popular. I've always been intelligent. It's just now I have my own platform to express it on, right? I wasn't one of these incel guys who all of a sudden got social media and got a bit of money and then started. I was dealing with women when I couldn't afford my bus pass, right? So I've never had that barrier to, like, my confidence is an inherent confidence. It comes from God. It's not a confidence that's given to me by social media or by my skin complexion. Because I believe personally that mixed race, because I don't think you can necessarily be mixed because are you a drink. Like you have two ethnic groups, or maybe you have dual heritage. You have two heritages that come into one being or one vessel. But melanin always dominates. When you mix it with anything, it's going to change the color of the person, and it's going to change the fact that light-skinned men can play basketball to the same capacity or a similar capacity, or do sports or do music to a similar capacity as dark-skinned men, shows that there's something else working. It's the melanin, where white people can't do the same thing. Right?
Okay.
So because you're speaking about genetics, so you're speaking about recessive genes and dominant genes, or inferior and superior genes. People don't like to use that term because everybody wants to be included and inclusive, but we know that melanin and African genetics are the most superior genetics on earth. And if you have a black woman and a black man, or African woman and African man, they can make every single complexion.
Yes.
Right? Where two white people can't come together and make a complexion like yours. Right? So melanin mixes itself up in various different ways. The Science and Myth of Melanin by T. Owens Moore explains it scientifically if you're into science. Dr. Africa explains it very well as well. There are ways that melanin works or carbon works within the body that science cannot explain. That's why the Dogon people from Mali were able to meditate and see Sirius B, which is a star that is not viewable by the eye before the naked eye, before the telescope was invented by Galileo, right? These people were able to identify constellations that were not visible by the eye and map the track the map of this map the track of the way that this star would move across based on their rotation of their pineal organ, their third eye, and the melanin that was working within their system, right? I tap into my melanin. I've got 3 black grandparents and 1 white grandparent. So my mom is of dual heritage and my dad is black. So I never had to pick a side. I was just raised as black Rasta. That was it.
That's it.
Right? Where I know that I have privilege because of my skin complexion, because of the context of colorism, racism, and the way that society has been organized. I know that there was mulatto babies, which means the worker, the mule, and the horse, the thoroughbred, the stallion was in one body. The white and the black was in one body to make this light skin person that now exists, and there was so much rape that was occurring in the plantations in America and also in the Caribbean and Brazil, etc., that by 1750, the height of slavery in North America, there was 670,000 or 675,000 light-skinned babies born and existed that lived.
Wow.
Because of all the rapes that was going on. Because when you were taken from Ghana, or we were taken from Nigeria, we were property. So your body wasn't your own.
You wasn't.
Yeah.
Either they're breeding you to make more of you so you can work a plantation, or you come into the master's chamber, and those days there's no condoms and whatever. So all of these kids then exist. Unfortunately, a lot of them then ended up being house Negroes and the keepers of the plantation for Europeans. So I get that whole context exists. Now in 2025, where I have this skin complexion and I'm living in Africa now as an African citizen, I get that a lot of the time people wouldn't listen to me if my complexion wasn't my complexion. I know that. But then also people wouldn't listen to me if I wasn't a man.
Yeah.
So there's there's gender privilege too.
Yes.
All of the privileges that you have, you should be utilizing them for the upliftment of our entire people. So just because I do it very well doesn't mean that I should be hated because of those things. Because if I was, I don't date black women, that nonsense, or I'm better because I'm light skinned, or I'm more beautiful because I am this and this, then yeah, come and attack me. But coming to attack me just because they're jealous of the things that I'm saying, the way that I'm saying them, in the spaces that I'm saying them, because I'm utilizing my sovereign energy, is just foolishness. Because it's like, all right, I'm doing my best, and I've been in situations where gunshots have been going over my head in Congo, and I've been saving children from being murdered in Congo because of the war for our phones.
Yeah.
Right? I'm in situations where my life is at risk, so I can try to move our people forward. And then someone's like, yeah, but he's light skinned.
Yeah.
All right, cool.
It's foolish.
Like, that's between you and God.
Speaking of Congo and Sudan and what's happening in Palestine, we have had conversations. We're very vocal on this pod about what's going on in Palestine, and we've been vocal about what's happening in Sudan and Congo, but not as much because Palestine is dominated. I've kind of had the stance that being black, we should speak more on Congo and Sudan than Palestine. But then the other argument is that, well, whatever happens in Palestine will happen around the world, so we should be speaking about that and amplifying that. Not more so, but it shouldn't.
It's like there's
it
more
shouldn't be
news
there's
that
more
we can
news and
share.
noise. Yeah. So I'm fighting with that within myself. Like, we should actually be amplifying the stories that aren't getting the visibility, because that's a problem. What do you think?
I think everybody should go suck themselves when they have some opinion about they're going to tell me about what I should speak about, and they should... No, because they've been dehumanizing Africans for too long. Why is it? If this thing that was going on in Palestine was going on in Congo, we wouldn't be talking about it.
I know. And that's,
So where I'm like...
But do you really think that? So you're in the same way, like the oppressive forces, you can clearly see that it's backed by the UK, America. Like, you can see the clear lines. You think that just because it would be in Africa,
100%.
it would be...
Not even 100%, 1,000%.
Yeah,
And the reason being is because the clear lines still exist in Congo.
Right.
The clear lines still exist in Sudan. They just try and put it to tribalism, and they try and basically do the whole anti-African thing that they always do, where they try and say, oh, it's just some civil war, it's some tribal war. They don't know what they're doing. Take the gold, right?
Yeah.
But the reality is that what is going on in Sudan is backed by the UAE, which is backed by the USA and the UK. What is going on in Congo is backed by the USA, is backed by France, is backed by the UK.
I think it's the face of the people, as in you have the IDF, you know the faces of the oppression. But
what's the
if it's a black person, I just think that could be
But
a
I'm saying,
symptom
what's the
of
difference
it.
between the IDF, right, who are Ashkenazi, Jewish, Europeans, and the Palestinian Arabs who are light skinned anyway? Like, what's really the difference?
I guess it's probably seen that they're a bit more European, the Jewish
But not
people.
much. Like, let's be honest, right? If you put a Jewish man, right, next to an Arab man from the same region, right, is there that much difference? Maybe the nose shape, maybe a little
Marginal.
bit skin complexion.
Yeah,
They have the same hair, they have a similar skin complexion, they're of similar stature and build, right? Though, obviously, the people that are birthright Israel coming from Canada and just turning up and getting sunburn every week, which is what happens to them.
Yeah.
We know that they're not them. There are people in that region who've lived there for long enough now, that not the Ashkenazi, but the Sephardic Jews, who I would say that the Africans' biggest problem, because inside of that whole context, right, and one of my best friends is Kareem, low-key. He's a big anti-Zionist campaigner against what's been going on. He wisened me up to a lot of the stuff that's been going on there, right? And I'm pro the right for the Palestinians to exist, and I am pro the love of the Palestinian people and their resistance against oppression and occupation. I'm pro that. I want them to do what they're doing, and I want them to survive this genocide that's going on. But, and it's a big but, there is racism in Palestine right now. There are African communities in Palestine that are and have been historically oppressed by Arabs, right? So, and in the rest of the UAE, let's not forget that the rest of the UAE and the rest of the Arab countries are pro-Palestinian, but when it comes to them worrying about whether they're getting the oil money from the USA, all of a sudden they're very quiet about what's going on. But all of these countries, all of these Arabic countries are anti-black.
Yes.
Whether it's Egypt, whether it's Tunisia, whether it's Morocco. I've been profiled the most in Egypt, in Morocco. If I go to Doha, in Qatar, wherever I go, it's anti-black, right? So there's anti-blackness going on in Palestine right now from Arabs, right? Whether or not, you know, we now are seeing the dehumanization, the genocide that's going on, and now it's like, it's a level playing field. There's still racism and there's still colorism within the Arab world. They might be like, oh, you're our brothers and X, Y, and Z. But the fact of the matter is, the Palestinians, maybe they're doing it more now. Maybe the Arabs are doing it more now a bit. But the Arabs were the ones that were actually in Congo when King Leopold's people got there, and they were taking people out to the Swahili coast to traffic them up to Mecca. So the Arabs were doing that to us first, right? Before the Europeans were doing it to us in Congo in particular, right? So I believe that what is going on in Palestine, Gaza, is, or Palestine, should I say, is the establishment of a new canal, because they don't want to do the Suez Canal anymore. So they want to do a new canal that the Zionists can control. I believe that that's what that's for. And unfortunately, the mouth of the canal is going to come out at Gaza, so they're wiping everybody out, right? And they've been wiping everybody out because the land was promised to them however many thousands of years ago, and all of a sudden, you know, they have to wipe these people out. What is going on in Congo and what is going on in Sudan is hundreds of times worse than what is going on there. Literally, in terms of the amount of loss of life, right? So 300 times the amount of lives have been lost in Congo than have been lost in Gaza.
300
times. Wow. In Congo, Google it. You got your laptop there, Google it. In Congo, right, there are right now 9 million people displaced. In Sudan, right now, there are 14 million people displaced. In Congo, right now, there are 40 million people starving, right? So where you've had since October 7th, and then historically, how many hundreds of thousands of Palestinians that have been killed? I don't know what the number is. It's 200,000, 300,000.
They're saying it's probably about 600,000 around there,
right? But and then historically, however many millions have been killed across the course of the last 100 years since 1948, right? Congo, from 1998 until 2006, 6 million people died. So 10 times the amount more people died 30 years ago there than have died in this last genocide period that everybody's speaking about, right? Because Congolese have Bantu features, because Congolese have spread nose, because Congolese have dark skin, because Congolese have 4C hair, we're not speaking about it. And the same with the Sudanese. And so because of that, I'm like, everybody can go suck themselves, because we, as a people, whether it's in Africa itself, I've been in Ghana and I've seen no protests about, I mean, there's one that happened last year or earlier this year, but I've basically seen no protests about what's happening in Congo. In South Africa, I've seen no protests about what's happening in Congo. In Kenya, I've seen no protests about what's happening in Congo, but they're protesting Palestine. In Africa. Are you mad?
Oh my God, that's what.
Are you actually crazy? And that's how anti-black we are, that we can't even see our own humanity within our own humanity. So, yes, we should champion the right for Palestine to exist, and we should champion the rights of the Palestinian people. But where we have a genocide that's going on that is 10, 20, 30 times worse, why is it that we're spending so much time on the one that's trending? Rather than the one where we are actually, like, these people look just like us, you know, that are dying in Congo. Like, there's kids there that look just like me, just like you, who are facing the worst extermination of humans since the biggest loss of life since the Second World War has happened in Congo and now in Sudan, right? The biggest loss of life since the Second World is not taught in schools. Nobody's speaking about it. But the biggest loss of life since the Cold War, actually, the biggest loss of life since the Cold War is happening right now in 2025. The airport in Goma has been closed since January, right? And I've literally been there while rocket fire. I've seen trucks full of bodies. I've seen beheaded people. I've seen mad stuff that I can't post on my Instagram. Because now, every single day, this is the weird thing that's dehumanizing us, right? We can scroll and see a beheaded child in Gaza that's just been blown up.
Yeah.
And then see a TikTok video of a guy dancing in comedy.
Yeah.
And then see a woman in a bikini, right? You cannot see the deaths that are going in Congo. That's how racist things are, because they censor it. They won't even allow us to show the deaths of people in Congo. Like, rape has been used as a weapon of war in Congo. The most women in the world have been raped in Congo, right? And that's been going on now for 30-something years. And you're not allowed to talk about it. So our genocide in Congo isn't even allowed to be talked about.
Yeah, that's
And
what I
we've been
always
pushing it.
wonder about, like the media, like the sheer scale of media that you'll get from Palestine, from Gaza especially, like people on the ground, living there, talking about their daily lives. The only kind of reporting I seem to find from Congo is you or Papi Orion. Consistently, like I'm getting
And a bit
that
of
on
Al
my feed.
Jazeera and some of the...
Yeah, but generally that on the ground person, those channels that you can follow, I do not see.
And they don't sit down with black people often. Like Al
Exactly.
Jazeera have been saying that they want to do an interview with me now for 4 years. Hasn't happened.
Really?
Right? I'm sure it will happen at some point. But the expert is always a white person.
Yeah.
Bringing to you the expert on Congo, and then it's some white person who, gets paid $80K a year to report on African suffering, and they're not actually speaking to Africans about it.
Exactly.
So it's the fact that the biggest loss of human life right now, for the technological revolution, these microphones, our phones, and the things that we're all using now to communicate.
Yeah.
And the reason why the Arabs are able to have this narrative being pushed now is because the Arabs are more unified than the Africans.
That's the problem.
Even if they're not unified necessarily in political ideologies, they are in religion. Even if they're not unified necessarily in maybe in business, they are in social media, and they are in their language. They all speak Arabic.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Now we all speak English, or we all speak French, or we all speak da. But when it comes down to it, within Africa itself, the people who are not educated in, a modern school, or educated in go to school. A lot of people don't go to school; they're farmers and thing. They speak Ga. They don't speak English, right? They speak Amharic. They don't speak English. They speak Wolof. They're not speaking French.
Okay.
So they aren't able to even get together on social media to even have a one language to be able to protest under. But it's the anti-blackness thing that's going on, because right now at 37 in Ghana, one of the biggest churches that I see in Ghana, there's white Jesus all across the stained glass.
That's a massive
In
problem.
every house,
right?
yeah.
Massive problem.
All across everywhere. Imagine this, yeah. So I built a village in Congo, right? Rather than build an orphanage, I wanted to build a village because I think it takes a village to raise a child. I don't think we should build orphanages. I think they're anti-African. Okay. Naturally, if somebody died and a child was orphaned in Africa, the extended family would take the child.
Yeah.
There's no such thing as an orphanage. These institutions are things where bad things happen to kids because of whatever. It's anti-African. It's not African. So Amy and her auntie Grace, living in a tent, displaced because of a volcano that erupted there. And in the tent, they've literally living in a tent. And in the tent, they've got their clothes hanging up. They're living on a foam mattress on lava rock on the floor. And the only one picture that they've got in this tent on the wall is white Jesus.
Yeah.
And I had to say to them, because now I speak Swahili, so I had to learn Swahili.
Okay.
So I speak nearly fluent Swahili, right? And at first, because they don't speak French, they speak Swahili, they speak Kinyarwanda. And I had to say to them, what in your right mind made you think that Jesus is going to come and help you out of this situation and he's going to be white? But then it's them that's killing each other. That's what they see. They don't see when they see white people coming to Africa. They see the help.
Right,
They don't
yeah.
see the murderers.
Yeah.
Right? They see each other as the
Yeah.
murderers, and they see the help.
Yeah.
And I said, what is it that you thought that white Jesus is going to come here to get you out of this tent? Like I had to say to her, and she's like, but that's God. And I was like, no, God looks like you. And I had to explain the whole story and the history. And then I got printed out baby Jesus and baby Jesus and Madonna and black Jesus images for every single household in the Ethiopian Coptic style.
Wow.
Because they're all religious.
Yeah.
So I had to give them an image or representation of themselves, because it's only us that pray to a God that doesn't look like us.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
It's mad.
It's crazy.
But I'm just saying, she was in the worst situation you can imagine
Yeah, but then that's-
possibly being, and she's thinking that white person's going to come and save her. So the other reason why a lot of people sometimes protest or contest or don't want me to talk to them, and I realize actually everybody wants me to talk on their podcast, because you're the first podcast I've ever been on in the UK.
Oh, seriously?
But I've got
Wow.
I've
Thank
got
you.
20 lining up to speak to you. I'm gonna go in a few more tomorrow, and I'm gonna fly out. I don't like it here, but there's so many people who are like, oh well, he's just an uppity light skin, and the reason why he's so pro-black is because he's trying to compensate for the. But the reality is, your auntie or your uncle or your grandma or grandpa is carrying a little picture of white Jesus around with them.
Yeah.
Right? And they go to a church
Yeah.
and they see a white Jesus statue standing, and a St. George statue with a sword standing on a black devil. And every single time we think about our purity, we believe that it's closer to whiteness, and we believe that we have to, that we were told that the hell, because this is the other thing that I think is anti-African. You might agree with me, you might disagree with me, but I think it's very anti-African to beat our children, right?
We've said, that's
Because
coming out now.
because that's the legacy of colonialism and slavery.
Yeah.
Why, if we are intelligent beings, in order to get our children, communicate to our children and get our children to do something, we have to beat them.
Yeah.
We should just be able to look at them,
Yeah.
because they're our children. They come from our flesh and blood. We were told that our children, this is white missionary Christians that came, devils that came to Africa, because first came the missionaries, and then came the mission, the soldiers, and then came the colonialism, right? The colonialism didn't come first, right? They captured us spiritually first. Why is it that we're told that the hell is in our children? So we have to beat the hell out of our children in order for them to be pure. And then we have to baptize them, right? In the name of the Father, the Son, the Holy Ghost.
Yep.
Right? But where's the woman in all of that equation? Because it was mother, father, child. That was the Holy Trinity.
Yeah.
Now it's Father, Son, and Ghost. So and the ghost isn't even a woman. So it's penis, 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 right? Whereas before, it used to be a holistic example of life.
Yeah.
And we ain't going to be able to move forward in any capacity while we still think that Jesus is going to rise again and come and save us from our misery, where we are giving all of our energy on a Sunday. All of our energy on
Sunday morning.
a wedding. Look at all this white wedding thing in Africa.
Oh, don't get my mum started.
Don't get me started on the white wedding thing. We just saw, and big up Mr. Easy and big up Teddy, and we
big up.
love you.
Yeah.
Why are you not having a wedding in Africa?
Yeah.
Oh, because the infrastructure's not there, and this. Why are you having a wedding? I think they had a wedding in Greece, Iceland, somewhere else. DeVito having his wedding in Miami. Why are you? And he spent $3.8 million on that wedding. Yeah. Why are you putting $3.8 million into a white economy when you could have the most glorious wedding that God ever gave you in Ethiopia or in South Africa, but not in the white area of South Africa, or in Ghana or Nigeria, etc., or in Congo? If you put that money into there,
Could have built a whole building.
Could have held
the whole thing,
Yeah.
and then that thing could be a building that would then last forever and whatever.
Well,
But no.
everybody else could have a wedding there as
Right.
well.
But no, we have to make sure that we do it in accordance with white Jesus, the white church,
And white excellence.
dress. Why are we wearing a white dress at the wedding? We have our traditional things. Why are we wearing a white dress?
To cut in.
Or why are we having a white wedding separate?
Yeah.
I mean, this is the thing, because you don't have to. Like, I did do that, and I totally regret it. Like, I had my traditional 3 years before having the white wedding, and realistically, my traditional, all we needed to do was go to the registry office, and that's what my mum told me to do.
What's this, please? What's this got to do with Africa? Listen, on the what's it called? Romance nonsense.
Oh, stop it, Chaka, because there's too much. I've got too much to say.
What has a ring, right, with a diamond on it that's probably come from Sierra Leone?
You're right.
Yeah.
Got to and getting down like the knights would in 12th century medieval times.
Yeah.
Getting down on one knee like the knights would to court nobility, whatever white women. What has that got to do with our African families and our African systems? What has got getting down on one knee and putting a ring on this finger got to do with Africa?
You know, most people don't even think of it like
They
that.
don't.
Like, we don't even think about
And
it.
can I be cheeky? Is that why you're not married?
No, I will, but the reason why
We're getting down on one knee.
no, I'm not doing that.
Yeah.
Why? Why? I'm already paying everything for.
Okay.
I'm already intimate with. I'm already living with. Now I've got to beg her to get with me.
Okay.
Excuse me. Why am I gonna do all that to just do what I'm already doing? And the thing is like I'm not like get in the kitchen type of guy.
Yeah.
I cook, I clean, I read, I'm progressive. I work out. I am as valuable in that relationship as the woman is valuable in that relationship.
Yeah.
But what has... I'm not married because I realize that I have a lot of work to do. I had a lot of work to do to get to a place where I am now, where my kids can act. Because what is a marriage without land, without assets? It's just a liability.
Don't we have lots of because we have lots of conversations about men and women relationships all the time because that's people love that, but that narrative about men having to build and be in that space before, because you're now hitting the you're nearly 40, but then women obviously our cycle, our time, we're like, can we just do this with you?
Right.
Can we just be with you? Because a lot and the narrative,
like build together.
Build together.
I've broke up with everybody I've ever been with. And the reason being is because I'm consistently evolving, objectively analyzing and moving things forward. And the thing is that revolution is only sexy when you're not with a revolutionary. When you're with a revolutionary and they're actually doing the work,
it's hard.
doing the hard stuff, and like now I've got to get on a plane and go to a war zone, because these kids is they might die. What? You're gonna be in danger? You're really gonna go and do that? You need to protect yourself.
Okay.
What about what? Now if I try and do that with kids, now if I try and do that, so I care for hundreds of kids, but they're not my biological children. But I've been able to do that because I haven't been responsible for my biological children, and also the fact of the matter is that I would say a lot of the people that I see doing things in Africa, they're still doing it within the narrative Euro-capitalism. It's not within. So, for instance, I was part of a delegation around 6 years ago that brought the Prime Minister of Barbados to Ghana and created the High Commission.
Yeah.
Okay.
I did that. I didn't do that because I'm in a relationship with somebody. I did that because I'm in a relationship with God and I'm in a relationship with my people.
Yeah.
And that's why I did that. I'm not saying I couldn't have done it while I was in a relationship. In fact, I think I was at the time, but that the relationship served nothing to do with the rest
your
of the
motivation
stuff that I'm
and
doing.
stuff.
Okay.
And I think that the personal relationships that we have, whether it's with God, whether it's with another person, unless that person is revolutionary, they're going to pacify you.
Okay.
True.
Is that okay? So maybe that is the reason why there aren't too many revolutionary people that are in a relationship. But it feels like you should be in a relationship when you're talking on the family.
Yeah, but I also...
Dr. Umar.
But I also care for and have cared for thousands of families, more than a lot of people care for their own damn family.
I hear it.
I've raised millions of dollars and actually built things that still exist to this day where families are living right now. So maybe I can't speak on my own personal family and how I govern that, but we built a whole village in Congo where 200 people live. 24 families live in our village, and we have been responsible for them now for 5 years, where I know man who've had picnic and they can't take care of their one picnic.
I was going to say, guys out there watching, don't try to compare yourself to the revolutionary. That's a different story.
Yeah.
Man's building what he's building. What about you when it comes to like what you're doing, the work that you're on? Do you feel the same where you can't be in a relationship whilst you're advocating for healthy living and clean living and foraging. Can you forage with a partner, or do you have to forage solo?
Yeah, of course. I think no, I think that's a great activity to do with a partner. But I think a lot of the time it's not so much what, you know, there's never been, and I'm sure you can relate to this, there's never been someone that told me you're not doing enough for me, you're not doing this and that for me, you're not providing that for me. It's more so what, as a man, what you want to bring in. Sure. It's not so much someone else telling you, oh, you need to provide that, and you're then being in a position where you say, oh, I can't do that, that's why I want to be single. It's more so it has to come from a place of, you know, yourself. And for me, I'm 27 now. So obviously, like, my sister, I have a twin sister. She was already getting pressure from family and everything. Like, oh, you know, do you want to get married? It happens early. I never had that pressure. Like, 27, no one ever asked me that question.
And you're still not getting asked now, other than from aunties?
My sister's married now and she has a baby. So now all of a sudden people start asking me. But before that, no one has ever asked me that question. So clearly there is also a difference, you know, in genders. And for me, that was never something I put too much thought into. I know if I do the work on myself, eventually, you know, if that's meant for me, that will align. But it was never something that I put too much pressure onto.
So I can't introduce you to my daughter now.
Let me just interject. This is not, I'm not shading you.
I'm joking, by the way.
No. I'm just saying. Black people, Dr. Umar Johnson has done more for the black community in terms of language, in terms of giving us things to speak about, than most average black person has ever watching this or will ever do. So whether or not he built the school or he didn't build the school, whether or not he has become a memeable guy that is just, you know, entertainment and comedy, he has actually given us language and talking points on black people, black community, black economics, and honored a lot of our scholars, historians, and notable black figures in the last 10 years than a lot of people have ever done in their life or will ever do in their life. So if you're going to tear down Dr. Umar Johnson, do the same to Elon Musk, do the same to Bill Gates, do the same to a bunch of various white people that are messing up our entire society, and keep that same energy, because the apology is never as loud as the disrespect. And I won't take disrespect for phrases, for instance, like Hotep, which means peace. And it means I see you, as you would never say to assalamu alaikum, you would never say to amen, you would never have that disrespect for that. So don't have disrespect for ancient African language or African history, African animism, religion, and also for Pan-Africans that are actually out there doing the thing. You know, when people say recently that doctors like Dr. Umar's asking for money, and he's like, I have money right now. There's a war, you know, against black activists. They kill them often. They jail them often. They're still in jail now, who were like part of the MOVE organization, part of the Black Panthers, etc. So whether it's Dr. Umar or whether it's anybody else, people have asked me, I've only recently just got into business building a city in Ghana. We just sold like 60% of the homes that we are building in Ghana at InvestFest a few weeks ago. So we did an amazing job. Like we're doing our thing. But when I'm like, yo, actually, I ain't got much money right now, that means it's because I'm not stealing money. Because if I was stealing money, then you'd see me like your pastor driving the big car around and living that kind of life. I don't have time for people who tear down black people who are putting themselves in harm's way. We just seen this white brother get shot the other day, right, for speaking on a platform about the things he was getting shot at. It wasn't black people did it. It's none of black people's business. No, because from what I'm seeing, it was an old white Jewish man that got arrested, and then they're trying to say there was some younger guy that killed. That's white people, white on white crime. Let them deal with that. Definitely. But when it comes to black people things, we should have as much energy for fighting our oppressor as we do for fighting each other. So that's one thing that I'll say on Dr. Umar.
I will agree. And we have a love, dislike, annoyance, irritation with Dr. Umar, because as much as we are very black empowered women, but then it comes with, and it tends to be that thing. Humans are humans and they're not perfect. But then he does do some comical things or some things that are questionable. That because we call out Elon, we call out Trump, we call out anybody that's doing fuckery in our enemies of progress thing. And then sometimes Dr. Umar comes into that category because some of the things you're doing are suspect. So.
But the thing is that focus on the message and not on the man.
I hear that,
Same
but then
thing,
if the man is also doing, because we're now going to be quoting, because Dr. Umar says, get behind this school. Dr. Umar says, don't date a snow bunny. Dr. Umar says, there's things that we can get behind. Then Dr. Umar's asking a woman to go on a date for him for £500 and things like that. And Dr. Umar's talking mess about a woman that he slept with. You did sleep with?
You know what though? This is why I say focus on the message and not on the messenger. Because the message he's speaking about is a message that's been going on for hundreds of years.
We hear that.
Pan-Africanism. The messenger, as you said before, is a human being and is flawed. Everybody's flawed as a human is flawed, right?
Yeah.
But the message, ideas are bulletproof, you know. So the things that he's saying now, when he's dead and gone, other people will be saying them.
Yeah.
Right?
Okay.
Whether or not he's dating a snow bunny or whether he's not, you can say that. I mean, I know he's not dating.
No, I'm saying when he talks about don't.
Right.
Yeah.
But it's it's like our parents that say, don't do what I do. Right? And then you're like, yeah, but you're a hypocrite though.
Yeah.
Because you can't tell me to not smoke and you're smoking. You can't tell me to not eat that and you're eating that. And you can't tell me to not swear and you're swearing. Right? But they still do it because they want the best for us. Right? And I do believe that he has black people's interests at heart.
I think
he has the best interest for black people at heart. And that for me is enough. Whether or not he actually lives up to that and practices what he preaches, that's a whole next conversation about, cognitive dissonance and all of these things. I think that him and various other people, because the thing is like, sis, there's things that I've done and I've seen I can't speak about on Instagram.
Okay.
There's things that I've done and I've seen that's far more revolutionary than anything that I've shown people, right? I might all have a scandal next week,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not going to, and
Yeah.
I've been disciplined enough not to, and that's why I ain't got no kids, I ain't got no baby mothers dragging my name through them, I ain't got any of that stuff. But with the right thing that I do for our community, the wrong thing is going to come up as the focus. Look at the Nat Turner movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And as the Nat Turner movie's getting released, I think it was his brother or something got accused of rape, and all of a sudden nobody goes to watch the movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Focus on the message, not on the messenger. I don't care personally what his brother's doing because that's none of my business.
It was him himself
Or it's him.
himself.
But either way, right?
Yeah.
I don't care about what that person is doing particularly, because whenever you put a messiah on top of things, then start worrying, right?
Yeah.
Because when you put a messiah on top of things, I love Rasta, but I have my own problems with Rasta because it seems like said that every Rasta wants to be Moses leading people, parting the Red Sea and whatever, which wasn't actually the Red Sea, it was the Sea of Reeds. But anyway, everybody wants to be this guy that everybody follows behind, but the difficulty that I have is, are you a servant leader that leads to serve people, or are you a leader that leads to be served? And if you're a leader that leads to be served, then I ain't got no time for you.
Yeah,
If you're a servant leader and you're doing your best to serve the people, regardless of your health, regardless of your personal situation. I was with some brothers in Uganda a year ago, or maybe 2 years ago now. And these brothers, super sweet brothers, they work at a school there. They're teaching Ugandan kids just the most amazing science and history and politics and growing food and everything, right? And they're now like 45, in their 50s. Shout out, I'm not going to say their names, but shout out to you guys. I went to Kabarole, all the way in the east of Uganda, where it borders Congo. Western of Uganda, and where it borders Congo. And I'm with these man. And they ain't got no kids, and they ain't got no wife. And I said, what happened? And they said, the revolution happened. They said, we thought that we were going to be able to do with the government and do for our people. And it took such a toll on us personally that we were waking up every single day. We were protesting. We were organizing. We were trying to survive, to try and push this thing so our people can go forward. Life does and past us. And now it's difficult. We're not sure about having a wife and having kids. They sacrifice their own personal life, legacy, lineage. They might still be able to because they're men. You know, they still have kids, but in their prime, they was doing that. And so whether or not it's, you know, Malcolm X, who died at 40, or it's Bob Marley, who died at 36, or it's any of our revolutionaries who died relatively young, younger than, around my age or younger than my age, the sacrifices that they did, like everybody's now saying, oh, well, you know, Bob Marley had the 5 wives or whatever he had, and that's not very... I don't give a shit what people think about what Bob Marley did with his personal life. Because what Bob Marley did for Rasta, what Bob Marley did for Pan-Africanism, what Bob Marley did for revolution, which just means change, is more than any human who comments about it has ever done and will ever do. And that's it. That's it. It's done. The conversation on that is done. If you are going to sacrifice your life for me, for my people, I can't say anything about whether or not you're sleeping with whoever or whether or not you're doing whatever, because you are ready to die for what you believe in. And a lot of people ain't even ready to die for their own family.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. I think you need to have a healthy like distance from whoever it is that you're preaching. It's, you know, there was the Dalai Lama, that picture that went around where he was kissing, I don't know, a child or something like that. And obviously, like for some people, that's the highest, you know, person that you could or entity that you could, like, I don't know, pray towards. So obviously, if you identify too closely with the Dalai Lama rather than the message, that becomes an issue then, because all of a sudden what you see, that person isn't perfect either. You know, same with I talked about Dr. Sebi. People say he ate fish, so whatever his work he did on plant-based food, it doesn't count. I don't see it that way. To me, it doesn't matter what he eats. It doesn't matter what anyone else that preaches something does in their own time. Is the message that they stand for and what it's done to the people, and that is more important than the person itself.
Look at the Bible.
Yeah.
You know, bare people take the Bible and the Quran and be like, well, you know, it's because God said, and don't worry about the people, because the people are doing the bad thing. God didn't do any of that stuff. The people, and it's like, if you can extract or you can distance the Bible from the people that call themselves Christian. Oh, well, all those people that got murdered in Nigeria by Christians, or all of those Christians that got murdered in Nigeria by Muslims, that's not Islam. Yeah. Right? Then we can definitely say that Umar and whoever else is like, well, actually the message is bigger than him.
I agree with everything. I think what human beings struggle with, and I think sometimes what I struggle with, is if you're saying this is the way to be, but if you can't manage it, and it's different if you've got your life on the line and to that extent, but on an average, you're saying you must be in this position, you must eat this and that. So if you can't, if the person that's telling you that and cannot do that, and I'm not talking about fighting, like dodging bullets and that type of level of stuff, on the average,
just basic stuff.
And if you can't do it and you're telling me that I'm wrong or I'm killing myself or this, it's very hard for humans to take that then seriously. And I get it.
But maybe they think that you're better than them. Because we
I hear that.
Children are better than us, right? I think that, you know, when I do have children, I'm going to put them through gymnastics. I'm going to put them through programs that I was good at, but I could never get to this top level.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you might have a coach, right, who's like trying to live vicariously through you, but they drink. And they're telling you to go to tennis every morning. And they're telling you to work out every morning. And you know that if you do that, you're going to be a better person. But my dad's a drunk.
I hear that. And I think along the lines, I think when people are in the public eye, which is about accountability and honesty and transparency as well, because if you promote yourself as a perfect being and you're saying, I'm a perfect being who lives this type of way, and I'm telling you lot to be like me, but then they find out you're eating McDonald's when you're talking about, that's the part where I think people struggle. And I don't think it's also not like Christianity where you can like, oh, God will forgive me so I can do bad things. It's more like, I'm on this journey with you. I think that's the way that leaders should be if you're going to be in that space, because humans can fail at some stuff.
Yeah.
You know,
without removing accountability and responsibility.
You know, it's happened before many times where somebody will project onto you the things that they say never meet your heroes, right?
Yeah.
Somebody will project onto you the things that they think of you that you don't even think about yourself.
Yeah.
Where I have had women say to me before, you think you're nice. And I'm like, no, you think I'm nice. I think I'm telling you to eat right. Right? But they say that because of what they're projecting onto me.
I understand.
I don't know if and or Dr. Umar or people like him have saying that they're perfect.
No, they're not.
I know that he says he's the Prince of Pan-Africanism, but I don't know if he says that he's perfect.
He doesn't.
I think that we can get caught up in semantics where the reality is it doesn't matter who said it. Did you get the message?
Just get the
doesn't
message.
matter the messenger. Did you get the message? Because the message is going to benefit you and benefit everybody. And that one person might not be doing everything right. They might be going for a midlife crisis. Mental health is a real thing.
It's a real thing.
So honestly, like if my man starts going on Instagram tomorrow and starts talking about the carnivore diet, I'm not going to be like, oh, well, he failed us and he was saying this before that. I'm going to call him up and say, yo, brother,
What's happening?
what's happening?
Yeah. Because I would too. I'm like,
What's going on?
bro.
Can I help you?
Yeah.
Right? And because I see him as a great representation of an example of what healthy living can do and what healthy eating can do. So I think that we need him as that example. I think we need Umar to be right.
We need Umar to be right.
Because who is the UK equivalent?
There isn't.
They don't have- well,
you're not here.
I'm
just saying, not
point-
equivalent. I'm just saying, would be.
It's in the room
you
with
are
us.
talking. You are reference.
It's
You
in
are
the room.
reference. You are reference. And you know, like,
Listen.
I know you don't live here.
You know what's very weird about being on social media?
Yeah.
Everybody talking about you, but nobody's talking
to you.
You
100%.
become objectified.
Yes, you do.
Rather than being the subject of a topic, you become the object of a topic.
Absolutely.
And I think there's dehumanization.
Right.
Because anybody who ever sits down with me is just like, what books did you say again? You know, they're never like, oh, well, you know. They never come away with that perspective because sitting down with somebody, sitting down with you guys, if I dehumanized before, which I didn't really know.
Yeah, you didn't know.
But it humanizes you.
Yeah, absolutely.
It brings you back to a space of, you know, we're all in the same thing.
Because I was definitely going to ask you, how do you have fun? Because like you're on making us better.
I have fun all the time.
Yeah.
And the thing is that the people, first of all, I've never said this before on a podcast or anything. I'm hilarious. But the only people that get to know that I'm hilarious are my friends, and my close family.
Of course.
Because we've got more work to do than me entertaining people.
I hear it.
Right? I'm not even particularly a great edutainer. I don't say stuff online that gets people all like. I think there was years ago, right? Me and my brethren, Coop, we was in LA, and my mom had just written this article about Karens, right?
Oh,
your
mom?
Yeah, my mom's
Really?
a genius.
Okay.
She's written various dissertations.
I did not know this.
Oh, I love this.
So my mum wrote this article about Karens and the social phenomenon that was uprising on social media about Karens, and she just. Like, you know when you need somebody who's more intelligent than you sometimes just give you a perspective that you never had?
Yeah.
She just said the first Karen that ever existed was Queen Victoria. And
Fair.
she sent ships across the world to go and kill people.
I saw that.
For petty shit.
My mum wrote that article.
Oh, wow.
So she said that the first Queen Victoria, the first Karen
That's
was
crazy.
Queen Victoria. And then I was in the mountains in the Sequoia Forest in California. And I had some sage, and I was in this forest, and we were walking through this forest, and we saw this sign that said Karen Drive, and I was like, these Karens. I was like, wow, to these Karens. And I pulled the sage out, and I said, I'm gonna hold a meds for all of the Karens in the world, right? That need to hear this, and all of the black people that need to heal from the trauma of the Karens in the world.
Right.
Actually, white people and white women pretending like they've just absolved themselves of the race issue because they don't necessarily hold the power and they ain't doing the racism. But you are the same school teachers that are teaching as anti-blackness. In school. You are the same people that are calling police on us. I was like, it wasn't intended to be funny. Yeah. And my brethren afterwards, he said, that was hilarious. And I was like, it wasn't hilarious. It was necessary. And it's like, yeah, but post it and see what people say. And so I said, for all you was enslaving African children and killing African children during slavery. So this is some sage for your blood clot. Yeah. Right? And then after that, it was like a whole thing.
Yeah.
Right? But then I didn't then try and make a bunch of videos like that.
To then follow as
no,
become
I would say shit with my friends. That was funny. But I'm not going to then try and be on the internet so I can be memed. I don't care about that.
We good?
Yeah.
Okay. Time. How much time have we got? None. We have to.
Is that not?
I've been pushing it. Okay. 14 questions in 4 seconds.
What's the most thing one?
I wanted to ask this. Okay, your celebrity network, because I wanted to say, I saw you in Ghana. You were at Afro Nation. This was 21. And you saged backstage. And I looked and I was like, there's Chaka, but you didn't know me then. I've met you before, but I didn't know her. So I
Why
saw
did you
you
stage
stage
backstage?
Yeah, you saged backstage.
Because people were drinking liquor back there.
Okay. And you know what? From my perspective, I was like, okay, that was an image of a representation of you, and it's interesting because it is about talking to someone and humanizing them, because that in my mind was like a snapshot. And I remember saying to my friend, I saw Chaka and he was staging backstage.
Like he goes places and stages.
Yeah, because things are spiritual, you know.
I know, I hear it.
And when we are drinking liquor, and when we, as Caribbean people, because rum was invented in Barbados, that's where I was born. When we are drinking rum, this company, the biggest company in Barbados, is now owned by some French people.
Yeah, I went and saw,
right?
yeah.
I ain't going to say their names, but you people are now trying to get us, with our culture, to promote your alcohol for your profit. But then we was enslaved. We was taken from Ghana, from Nigeria, from Senegal, from Congo, etc. We was enslaved on plantations in Barbados. We were forced to make this sugarcane until the crop was done. Then we had crop over. And then after that, you turn that sugarcane into profits and built Canary Wharf. They was literally sugar cranes that would bring in the sugar profit, and built the financial districts in London.
Yes.
Turn that same sugar into rum through distilleries, and then use that rum to then buy Africans back again. I'm going to drink it.
Yeah.
Are you mad? So then I'm really going to be there at a festival and be around all these people that is drinking and smoking and doing whatever, and then be peace in that space.
I hear it.
Without at least bringing some kind of cleansing of the area to the something. I'm not going to stay in that space.
I'm so glad I got to ask you to talk about that.
You
I'm
just
so
saw it,
glad
innit?
'cause I just saw it. And it's not, and if someone didn't know you, they'd be like, he's just doing that thing for his brand. Or what's no, I know, but it's a good thing to explain, because who could have seen that and said whatever?
That's a spiritual thing.
Yeah, 100%.
We need to
Sage.
get back to our rituals.
I hear it. We've got to go. What can we ask? Like one big thing.
Ask him one big thing, man.
One big
Go on,
thing.
then.
Spoken a lot.
Go on then.
We spoke so much earlier on, innit?
What was the main
All right, so
questions that
what
you
I
guys ask?
really...
Two of them. One for him, one for me.
Okay, all right, for you,
Yeah.
because I really want to fix my health properly, and I keep on coming up with excuses. And so your book is like 30 days, isn't it, Spec?
Yeah. So there's go on.
How practical is it, like truly, for me to really change everything in 30 days?
So,
Is it realistic? I would say I'm kind of lazy, very standard. Like, can I do this in 30 days?
do you want to change?
I do,
Yeah.
yeah,
Have you ever started anything in order to get there?
and completed it.
No. Have you ever done anything in that regard in order to get
No,
there?
but I've never really done a proper 180 turn on my health and what
Yeah.
I eat. I haven't.
Yeah. So I think the first thing is knowledge, knowing what you should be eating, knowing what you shouldn't be eating. And I don't promote a vegan diet. I don't promote an alkaline diet. I don't promote any diet. I just promote whole foods. So those foods that have always been here. And if, in 10, 15, 100 years, we're not here anymore, the foods that still continue to be here. In 15, 20 years, if we were to disappear today, there's no Coca-Cola river flowing. There's no trees with Snickers bars and candy floss or whatever. It's the foods that exist in the world, even without human aid. So even if we're not here, we don't help
It's
it to
still
grow.
going to be there.
Yeah.
So these are the natural foods that I would promote consuming. And the book just gives you an idea of what you can do with those foods. So, you know, some people, they would see a red onion, they would see a purple sweet potato, and they would see
And I've
some
never seen a
wild
purple
rocket.
sweet potato before in my life until I saw it on your video. I've never seen it.
See, I think if you're in London, for instance, don't have an excuse because there's access to all the foods from all around the world. So it's just knowledge, knowing what to eat, and then having the motivation, understanding, okay, I actually want to do this. And I would say start with breakfast because that's the easiest thing to do. Most people already naturally eat a plant-based breakfast. They eat oats for breakfast.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't necessarily recommend that, but I think it's a good foundation to start off. Like, you know, have your oats, put chia seeds on top, put flax seeds on top, put tahini on top, put whatever fruit you want on top, put some Brazil nuts on top. And then all of a sudden you turn something basic like oats into quite a nutritious meal already. And then you can continue from there. If you want, you can start with fruit. You can start with whatever's in season right now. You have the apples and the pears. Have it with chestnuts if you want to stay in season with what's growing in the UK. So you can have that for breakfast. Then you can have your oats and you already start your day perfectly fine. And then you just continue from there. In my recipe book, for instance, for lunch, I have a chickpea omelette, which takes about 5 to 10 minutes to prepare. You get all your protein in there. You get all your fiber in there. You know, we're so worried about protein intake. We don't look at fiber intake at all. That is your fiber in one meal. So I think it does help if you're ready for the change, if you actually want to do it. So that is the foundation for it.
Thank you. You sold it to me. That's all I wanted you to do was sell it to the people.
And the book is on process.
It's called On Process, yeah.
Yes.
Chaka, for us to follow in your footsteps, it seems like I don't have the tenacity to dodge bullets in Congo. However, for those who want to be more active and activist and Black empowered and enlightened, what are the kind of maybe first baby steps that they can take to just be a better Black person and look at community?
Community is just the common unity.
Okay.
And what is it that we all want? We all want to be healthy. We all want to be happy. We all want to be represented. We all want to have our own sovereignty. And I think that Blackness has become a colloquial term that has defined our resistance to whiteness rather than our celebration of who we are.
Yes.
And I think that we now need to focus on where we want to live, because I know for a fact that, I mean, now I ain't going to grow old and die in this country, right? We can get back to the countries that we came from, which is very important. Why is it that we are so trying to seek white validation that we forget that actually where we live, mangoes grow on trees.
Honestly.
Organic, you know? And it's a lifestyle. It's an everyday buying Black, selling Black, speaking Black, thinking Black, and then deeper than that, buying African, selling African, thinking African, and being able to be the author of your own destiny.
Okay.
And whether that's you deciding not to go to Ibiza and deciding to come with me or Jason to, you know, Jamaica or Nigeria to eat natural foods instead of, you know, going and doing an all-inclusive in Mexico for whatever reason, or whether that is trying to make sure that all the books that you get for your kids are all going to have their representation in there, or whether that's trying to buy hair products and skin products from Black people. It's an entire lifestyle. You don't need to walk around with your fist in the air, but if you are trying your best to do everything you can within your power for your people, to give power to your people, then rather than the people in power, then that's empowerment. And I think I'll finish with this. Though I think after speaking to you now, we should do something together, like, because you're speaking about all these things that you're speaking about, and I'm like, I ain't eating no chestnuts or nothing, because I'm in Ghana and I'm in Panama and places I can show you. But the benefits of power become obsolete when you have to ask for them. Frantz Fanon said this. And we have been asking for these people for many years now to just accept us, to just see us, to just give us our humanity. They won't give it to us. You never get power by asking for it. You take it.
Yes.
So it's time to take back the power.
I hear it. Chaka and Jason,
It's great. We could have
appreciate
spoken for like
14 hours. And we're in so much trouble already. Guys, you know where to follow them. Follow you on.
The Electric Trap.
Follow you on.
Chaka bars.
Follow us. Your Aunties Could Never. Like, comment, and subscribe. This has been Your Aunties Could Never with Chaka Bars and Chaka Zulu and Jason. Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys.
I appreciate you.
Thank you.